What is up, everyone? Thanks for joining us for episode 114 of the Game Cast. A whole 5 months later since the last one. You know
Who's
what?
counting?
Life be lifing. That's what that is. But yeah, we're back. We are back with another episode. Today, I am one of your hosts, Kenny. With me is Tess.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, and we have a solid podcast for you today. Before we get into the topics, though, I want to talk a little bit about what I've been doing recently, and that is trying to catch up on a lot of stuff that I've been missing because life has been lifing. For instance, I went to the movies and I saw SZA and Keke Palmer's new film,
Nice.
One of Those Days, and it was cool. It was cool. It was a charming film. I think SZA and Keke, them together, their chemistry is worth watching it. It reminds me of I don't want to say Friday, but maybe a Friday After Next in a sense, because it wasn't as funny as I had hoped. I think that for instance, certain characters or certain actors like I- he was I don't think he was used as well as he could have been.
Mm.
Because he's a very funny comedian and whatnot, and usually his roles he gives like 120%, and it's just over the top. And in this, he was very subdued, I feel like, and just not as animated as he could have been. And granted, it could have been because of the script and like the timing and everything,
Mhm.
but I was just hoping for a little bit more. At the same time, I constantly had a smile on my face. Like think I don't think there was a time where I frowned or anything like that. Like either I was laughing or I was smiling at what was happening. Um, and that's a good thing. Like, comedy is very difficult in terms of just being funny for everybody at any
Yeah.
single moment. And then it's like, who's the audience and stuff like that. But I guess to compare it or to give you like, what I could compare it to, excuse me, to what people probably seen recently, I say it's like a episode of Insecure blown out into a movie, right? And depending on how you feel about Insecure, that could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Mm.
But it's an Issa Rae production. Like this is, one of her um, under her umbrella, and I think they did a really good job. It just wasn't as funny as I was hoping, but
Mm.
definitely a good movie. Like I said, for SZA and Kiki, 7 out of 10, easy. And then that's before you get into the plot and all the goofy stuff that happens. Um, and then I also saw Hard Eyes. I saw Hard Eyes last night,
Mm.
and this is a shout out to Josh Rubin. He directed. We had him on the podcast
We
talking
sure
about
did.
his comic Darla. And this kind of goes back to the clip we did where we talked about combining horror with comedy. And again, he does it really well. And so this film reminds me of like if you took like maybe like a teen movie with Scream and added a little bit of Friday the 13th.
Mm.
The way that the everything kind of meshes together, it's silly and like mad violent, but it's funny. Like way more than I thought it would be. And even if it's not funny, you're just smiling at what's happening on screen because it's like this is absurd. Like this would never happen at any point, any time. But it works so well in this film. He has a way of balancing the surreal nature of, a killer who kills people on Valentine's Day just cuz with the I guess romantic, something about Mary or whatever. Like it's just a weird combination of things that
Mhm.
you don't really mesh that you would think.
Yeah.
Um, and he does it well. He did it well. He also has a cameo in the film, a small little cameo, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm an Alfred Hitchcock fan, and so people who do that, and who aren't annoying with it, I'm not gonna say any names. Um, it's actually pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So I got to see that as a bunch of different shows. I'm trying to finish um, Evangelion. I know, like, I've been trying to finish this show for so long, this anime, and just like Gundam, it's very hard to get through. I don't know what it is. Like, I've seen older anime
It's
like
slow.
recently that wasn't as bad, but it's like man, like this is people like this. Like, it's not bad, but it's just not good either. It's
Yeah.
just not. I don't know. Maybe there's a turn. Like there's a turn towards the end. I heard like they also had like films that follow the series and stuff like that. So I'm trying to do it. It's more so for like my mental rolodex of content
Yeah.
and art, and trying to just be fully rounded in the stuff that I talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I
Agreed.
want to kind of finish those. You know what I mean? But it's been rough. It's definitely been rough. How about yourself?
I haven't, well, I shouldn't say I haven't been doing much of anything. It's not really fair, but life has lifed harder than life
Yes.
really should be lifing. And so
Right.
it has been a rough 3 months, 4 months, however long life has been just kicking me in the face. But I've tried to catch a couple of things here and there, and I haven't really done a great job of doing that. I tried to watch Secret Level. I turned it on and then
Mm.
which is on Netflix, and then I had to turn it off for, some reason. Who knows? I was probably crying in a corner. And then I tried to, like
That's not
watch
funny, but
any
I get it.
I definitely have tried to just like pick things up, and knowing that I'm like they're right there. It's on my screen. Like Cells at Work is back on Netflix,
Yep.
and
Yep.
so I don't have to try to pay for Crunchyroll or something, and I'm like just looking at it like I don't think I have time for you. I think I have to focus my energy on other
Trying to survive
trying
and
to survive,
whatnot.
But
Yes.
you know, we're going to talk about Arcane later on in the show, which I did manage to watch. And I'm trying to think if there was anything that popped out at me because I did watch a few things, I feel like I did. And I feel like I did
Did you?
mention that in a text message, but I have early onset dementia, and I don't remember anything that I ever say. I don't. So I don't remember. But I know I've done something. I know
Well, did you see? I know because you watched Temptation Island, right? Like that show, or
I have.
you have.
Yeah.
So you haven't? Have you seen the recent? Because it's all over Twitter with
It's all over
Montoya.
Twitter with Montoya. I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
Montoya, he is going through
Mm,
it.
man. See, this is why I would just never put myself in any type of predicament. I don't care how much money. It ain't worth it. You will not have me running down the beach screaming like I'm being chased by a monster. Like it's just
Look,
not happening. It's
extra
not
money
happening.
to the cameraman. The cameraman knows that he signed a contract and they're not going to pay him any extra for this. He knows that this is what he signed up for. But I'm just saying, any of the cameramen that have to chase reality people who are running and it's not part of the script, like there are times
Right.
when producers are like, we just need you to run. But when they just take off and you're like, oh God, that and you
Right.
keep up. And
On the
again,
sand.
in the sand. I was like, okay. I said, you know what? This don't make no sense. They had other camera people around. This don't make no sense because some of those shots are too good. Some of those shots are
Right?
too good. So we
Ain't
already
nobody
know.
trip and fall with the
Thank you.
camera.
Because the
Oh my
first person should have
gosh.
tripped and fell over a palm tree, over a coconut.
Yes. Yes.
Hi.
It was ooh, because I was seeing it on Twitter and I was like, I don't watch the show. And I was like, yo, like, why is everyone going on about this dude? Like, what
Yeah.
happened?
What happened?
And then I started seeing clips, and then like when they show him running, and they go back and forth between the couple or
Yeah.
the new couple and him.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh,
And
oh,
then she want to
damn,
hug him and be like, I want to be with you. And then they're like,
yeah,
remember how the internet is going? 'Cause they're like, "Oh my gosh, she's horrible," and it's like, but then you got to listen to Montoya, and he's like, "You did this for revenge," because he did it first.
yeah. Apparently there was I guess he had a lap dance or something like that,
I
and
don't know.
it's too much. You know what I'm saying? But it's hilarious because people are saying this is peak television. I'm like, these people are destroying themselves
They
for
are.
entertainment. So I guess that works.
I mean,
Um,
that's why I watched Love Is Blind. I no longer watch Love Is Blind for any of the heartfelt things from season 1. Season 1
right.
was totally different. It was like, "Oh wow, this show is all right. I'm not mad at this show. Oh my God, I'm going to go on this show." The way this man I followed the Liler and Ashley story so I thought that I was finding out information. Like, I'm like,
Right.
because I was telling my sister, I was like, did you know this? And she's like, wait, what? When did you find this out? Shout out to Story Time with Ricky. Um,
Right.
but I mean, the fact that these reality shows are no longer for what the show is supposed to be for. You are not
Yeah.
going on these shows for love. You're not going on these shows for whatever the show is. You are going on this show to promote your own brand. You are going on this show to, get a house, because that's what Liler was
Right.
trying to do. Liler needed somebody to take care of him. That's why he went on the show. There was
Yeah.
there was no, oh, I'm gonna fall in love and meet the love. No, there was, who can I swindle? I need to swindle someone. I will find somebody and I will swindle them, and they will pay my bills, and they will.
It makes sense because
Why not?
you turn it into. I mean, I'm pretty sure Montoya can make this could be a book for him. This could be some type of a spin-off show of him.
It
This
could
could
be a
be
fitness
what
show.
you know what I mean. It could be.
Like, this is how you run on sand with a camera chasing you.
Yo, I swear he ran track. He had to have ran track at
Come
some
on
point
now.
in his life.
No,
Like,
this is just how the
oh
Spanish
my
people love.
gosh.
This shows the dedication and the I don't know, the pouring out of feelings of somebody who just loves harder than the rest of the world.
The clothing line, hey, rippable shirts. Hey, look, you got to run. You got to rip the shirt off. Here you go. This. It's not cotton. Oh my gosh, that was yeah. It's been interesting. It's been interesting this 2025, and we haven't even been. It's only been a month, I think.
It's literally
Yeah,
only
just
been
a
a
month.
month. The bingo cards,
Um,
I've actually had to throw them at, they're all full.
yeah, yeah. That my bingo card just set on fire, like just spontaneously combust. I was like, yeah, I don't think. Ooh. Okay. Yep, I have no more spaces. That was
None.
quick. Yeah, I need another one. Need another double bingo. I need another one. Goodness.
What kind of
So
nonsense
yeah,
is this? Yeah.
speaking of nonsense online, it wasn't total nonsense, but we did peep. So EA announced a Sims 25 anniversary celebration of sorts,
Mm.
and they've had a whole thing lined up. It was a roadmap from starting at Jan 16th with like a different different things that they were going to show, different stuff that was in game, and in between January and February, nostalgic looks at the game and stuff like that. But then on February 4th, they had a live stream. Well, they started the live stream. It actually ran for more than just that day, and it was a stream of just people doing a bunch of different things, and none of it. Well, very little of it for me actually worked. Because if you've never seen The Sims streamed, it's not the most captivating thing. Usually what makes The Sims captivating is you playing it or a friend of yours playing it and you're sitting beside them, because then you can say, hey, why don't you try this? Or we want to get these people together. You're a little bit more invested than a random person's whatever. Unless you've been following this person for however long, you saw that their family, whatever Sim family that they started with, you saw them go all the way through whatever, right? And so you're kind of invested. But for people who are jumping in who never have streamed before, you don't know anything about the imaginary family that they've made. It's just a boring watch, right?
Mm.
And so they had celebrities, like for instance, Lotto was on there. Shout out to Big Lotto, and it was not good. Some of it was because of technical issues, right? Some of it was because I don't think she's ever streamed before. As just because I guess people thinking like you're a celebrity, so you're used to being in front of people, but not to this capacity. Streaming is different.
Yeah.
Where things are happening live and you're not showcasing your talent per se, you're showcasing yourself. And I think that because this was the Sims anniversary, that kind of got mixed up where it was like, show the game. It's like, no, you need to be Lotto and let the game be background. That's kind of how this works for the most part.
Yeah.
Unless you are, like we were talking off air, unless you're playing something like Call of Duty or something that's more action oriented where your skill level is what's being addressed versus your personality. Streaming is more so personality based. And so I think it would have benefited everyone if it was just like, this is just a Lotto stream. Sims is in the back. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But instead she was trying to play, and it got to a point where she had to kind of like let people know like, oh, I actually play The Sims. It's just that I've never streamed and I never blah, blah, blah. And so when you get to the point where you have to have like expectations, it's like, ooh, this is not it's not going the way you think.
Mhm.
But then even outside of that, there was some on there who I also didn't think did all that well
Yeah.
because, and I think this could have been something that EA kind of plugged for them, like, hey, it's the Sims day. It's not about you, it's about the Sims. And the Sims isn't that type of game. Now, what I was expecting though was them to do more of the nostalgia stuff that they did previously, where they talked about like this is how we came, this is how Sims can be, or look at the elevation, the of Sims 1 to 4. Look at the new stuff you can do in the Sims 4, highlighting those things. The mod community and the contributions that they had to the Sims, and like talk with developers, like doing things that while the Sims is playing in the background. Like if you ever watched Nintendo Treehouse, they do this thing where they'll have a new game that they announced. They'll have a developer play the game while another developer sits beside them and a journalist, and they'll talk to the journalist, and the journalist will ask them questions like, "Hey, what is this game about? What are you doing right now, etc." So one person is explaining what's happening while another
Mhm.
person is playing, and so even though the gameplay is front and center and all this other stuff, you're getting interesting tidbits about the game from the on the side, and you're hearing stuff that, from a creative standpoint, that's really interesting. You're hearing about things that are planned, things that are coming in the future. You're hearing about essentially, it's not a boring experience.
Yeah.
They're not just playing, Legend of Zelda and just smacking trees or goblins or whatever the case may be,
Right.
or moblins. They're actually saying things, and with, for instance, Lotto. Not to pick on Lotto, but um, a lot of what I saw was just her trying to get one particular sim pregnant, and it was funny for a moment because it was like you have like 5 kids. Like, anyways, it was interesting in that regard, and she was being funny. But then the technical difficulties came into play.
Yeah.
The fact that she's not used to streaming and trying to play and talk to the
Mhm.
fans at the same time. The comments coming in really quickly. And granted, they made it, like you were saying, they made it so you have to wait like 30 seconds, but there's like thousands of people in the chat, so
Yeah.
a
There was
bunch of
there
stuff
was
popping
actually
up.
9,000, 10,000 people watching at that time.
Right. And see, that's one of the things I was going to say too, is like, for any criticism that I have, apparently it was a success because there was a ton of people in there for the long haul with this, even though they were complaining and, on Reddit and, going crazy and whatnot. There was a lot of people there, and some of it could have been because they wanted to see Lotto. Some of it could have been they're actually fans of The Sims. We will never know,
Mhm.
but it was still like, oh, I expected more and less at the same time. It's weird. It's not it's not what I thought. But you saw
Yeah.
more of the show though. You saw like more of the
Yeah.
segments. What do you think about it?
I did. And so overall, from what I saw, I was not impressed. I was actually like, I did a lot of this. I was like, however, I'll first go over things that were great. So Katya and Trixie opening up was great. I love
Yeah,
Katya and Trixie. Y'all, you if you watch us, you know how many times I've mentioned drag queens. Like, come on now.
right,
And Katya is my favorite drag queen. Period. Hands down. Point blank. Fight me.
right.
I will ride at dawn and go to the ends of the earth for Katya. Like, but and honestly, Trixie and Katya are just so ridiculous. So having them on was brilliant. What I don't
Right.
understand, and I shouldn't say I don't understand, but it's clear that EA was maybe just trying to tell everybody that this live stream was going to be great. You don't want to miss it. These are the people who are coming. And didn't really tell you the order because they didn't want people to
Yeah,
not show up just because it's like, oh, well, I want to see this person, so I'm only going to show up at this segment. So, as far as I know, a lot of people who were in the comment section did not know that Katya and Trixie were going to be first. Because a lot of people who showed up during Lotto segment were like, I miss Katya and Trixie? People are saying, and we're like, yeah, you did. They were first.
right.
I think that it was a good opener because Katya and Trixie did a good job. It was interesting though watching them because Trixie's never played, and they made that very clear. And Trixie doesn't play The Sims. They were playing with their Sim selves that I believe somebody else actually had created and put in the gallery. And
Hmm.
did I say Trixie? Katya doesn't play The Sims, but Trixie downloaded them, and so um, Trixie does play. She actually plays a lot. She's, I believe, streamed
Right.
before. I'd never watched her, but she does play. She just hadn't played a lot. Trixie's a very busy person. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and so she hadn't played in a long time because as she's playing, she was like, "Wait a minute, I did this wrong. Wait a minute. That's not what I wanted to do." And so you're seeing a lot of this, and it actually, as a viewer, it felt like I was watching somebody who was unfamiliar. It felt like I was watching myself. I just started
Yeah.
playing The Sims in December. I
Right.
do not know what I am doing. I mean, I talk now like I'm a connoisseur, but that's because I'm ADHD, and literally ADD people, once we read one book, we are the guru. Okay? We know everything. So literally I could have a conversation with somebody right now and be like, "Oh my god, you didn't know this," or "Oh my god, well this is how you do this." Like you didn't. That's me because I have a dumb brain. I have a weird, I shouldn't say dumb. I have a weird brain that allows me to believe things that are not real. Dululu. But anywho, I was sitting there and I'm watching the two of them and I'm like, well, I know Katya don't play. Okay. Which again was still charming because Katya's character was awesome. That slow walk was
Yeah.
so good. but Trixie who does play, I was like, huh? And so I was again, I was a little confused, and I was confused at how this was structured, how the purpose of what EA was trying to do. I just didn't.
Right.
I feel as though we should have understood what EA was trying to do from jump, and it was
Yeah.
not clear. The three ladies who were doing the hosting. Sorry, guys. I I was not impressed, and
Yeah.
it seemed like I don't know if maybe their cue cards weren't good, if it just seemed like they were doing their reading, and then they would have these awkward pauses where then they would try to ad lib because it was an awkward pause, but then they would get cut off because they cut each other off trying to fill
Yeah.
the hole, and it just seemed very, very unrehearsed, very, very thrown together, and I feel like they probably did work for some period of time on this, and as I've been playing this game since December, a lot of the YouTube videos that I've ended up watching are people who play like, almost hate play this game because they talk about how EA is so shitty, like, as a company, how everything is a cash grab when it comes to The Sims 4, because that's what I'm playing.
Yes.
But like it's pack after pack after pack. Let's get money. Let's not just include these things base game. And so I'm watching this live stream and I'm like, it just feels like that is being confirmed because it's like, did you not pay people enough money to give them the months that they would have needed to prepare such a large undertaking? It's going to be a 25-hour live stream. There should be a lot of
Yeah.
work put into this, but it looks like about 12 hours of prep went into this. It feels like there was a 1-hour meeting on a Sunday when everybody was off that they forced people
Yeah.
to go to. And most of that 1 hour was spent eating because people were like, "Well, you're not paying me, so I'm just gonna eat my lunch," type thing. Like that's what it felt like. It felt so not well put together. And then we go into the first segment, which again, if they had told everybody that Katya and Trixie were going to be first, they would have had so many more viewers. They would have had the entire drag
Yeah.
community, the entire fandom there and set and eating popcorn. Like it would have been different. But then, even with them, they were like, "Oh, our segment's up. It's time to go by." And so I left that segment being like, I didn't know what the purpose was because I was like, well, wait a minute, it's the 25th anniversary. Did they add anything? Did Sims add anything new to gameplay where your first
Right.
presenters would have been showing that? Because that wasn't the case. They literally were just trying to go to a festival in
Yeah.
like Ravenswood or Strangerville or wherever they were going. There was nothing. It was literally just Trixie showing Katya how to play.
Yeah.
Like, and not in a way where it had anything to do with, oh, by the way, like it didn't. I don't feel like there was theme. So then we go to the next segment, and again, the non-theme is continuing.
Right.
Like Lotto comes on there, and again, that her trying to get her sim pregnant was funny because but it was funny in a flukish way because it was like,
Right.
there are 5 kids here, the baby's diaper is dirty, the toddler is outside near a body of water, going up and down these
Yeah.
stairs. Why your house got this many stairs, and why are the stairs outside? It's raining.
Yeah.
And then you had the twins who Lord knows what they were up to, and the teenager who is now responsible for taking care of the kids so she can go with her man to get pregnant. And I'm like, again, if the theme was let's make these simmers accomplish this thing. Like they have 20 minutes to accomplish this thing that we want them to accomplish and show us how they did it. Show us how you play. It
That would have been
doesn't seem
cool.
like that. It seems like EA just said, "We'll just get these people and then just give them 30 minutes and then they can just do whatever."
Yeah. It also it gives the feeling of, oh, streaming is easy. Like
And
this is
it's
just
not,
something that anybody does, and it's like no. And I think that would have been cool
which
if
is
they
why
would
I'm
have
not
had
doing it.
a. Right.
You know how many times I've wanted to stream? I have Twitch on my phone. I'm now playing this. I literally decided to start playing this game. I started this game in December with the sole purpose of streaming it because I looked on TikTok and I saw, like, I wasn't looking for this. I'm just talking about when I doom scroll through TikTok and I see people's stories, I crack up. And just hearing the things that people say, I believe I've told you the story about the girl who was talking about her strip club, about how her son,
Right.
who's a security guard at the strip club, got all the strippers pregnant.
Right.
And she didn't know. She said, she goes, "Y'all, my Sims, I just noticed that like 7 out of the 10 strippers that work at the strip club are looking kind of rotund. I didn't understand why. And then all of a sudden, she realizes that they're pregnant. She goes and does DNA tests or whatever and finds out that her sim that she's playing with, who owns the strip club, and her grown son is a security guard, is the father of all these babies. She don't know how this happened. I'm guessing it happened while she wasn't paying attention. And that was what did it for me, because I've already seen other funny things. I've watched Mel Mitchell, who, if y'all don't know, she's the black teacher at Hogwarts.
Yeah.
And I've watched her play. Like, she had, I think one of her Sims was getting married and the Grim Reaper killed her husband at their wedding. And I just thought, I'm like, these things are so, you can't make these things up. They just have, it's great. And I was like, oh my goodness, I think I want to play. My niece has been playing The Sims for 10 years. She is 22 years old, 21 years old, what, I don't know how old she is. And she's been playing for that long. And I said, you know what? Now I know why she loves this game, because she used to ask for gift cards all the time and stuff. And I said, I'm gonna play this game. I have time. I have free time. Let me play this game.
Right.
And this is literally the reason why I wanted to play. And I'm still not streaming. I'm streaming to a friend. Like, so it's not easy.
Right.
It's not. And and even though these, people are famous and they have audiences and all that kind of stuff, if you do not have a purpose for what you are doing, if you don't have an outline, it's not going to be interesting. Streamers work hard. They have scripts, they have outlines, they know what they're going to do when they start. A lot of people, like Lil Simsy's a good example. She's like, oh, in today's Let's Play series, where I'm going to pick up all of the gravestones in my entire game.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's a purpose.
Or even if it's not, it's the understanding that I am the reason people are coming here. So I have to do something with what I have in the
Mm,
game to make this work. And I think this would have benefited them, like you were saying about having a purpose. If they were like, there's a challenge, they can make it a challenge. So
yeah,
you're a celebrity, because we've seen this on TV where let's say a person goes to Ellen, and Ellen is like, hey, I heard you've done this before, well, we have a challenge for you. And
right.
it's like today's game, and granted the person's already in on it, but it's like, will they meet the challenge or won't they meet the challenge? And so if they gave Lotto, like, hey, you have to do this under these parameters,
Mm-hmm.
this particular goal in 30 minutes, that's your time slot. And then as the time is ticking down, she's getting flustered because she's like, I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah.
And the chat is getting into it. They're encouraging her to like do whatever, or telling her, giving her tips and all this other stuff. She's interacting more, and
Yes.
now less on her necessarily putting on a show, is more so the show kind of builds around the fact that she has this challenge. And that
Mm.
would have been
And it would
great.
have been great.
That would have been hilarious. Whatever mess she got in trying to do this, if she would have burned the house down, it would have been hilarious.
So
You'd
funny.
have had clips, you know what I mean? Like clips on
Yeah.
TikTok and all sorts of stuff. I think that would have been great. Like I think,
Yeah.
and I don't, like I said, I don't know. We don't know the inner workings,
We don't.
but the way it looks, we can speak to the way it looks, and it looks
Mhm.
like you said, there wasn't much direction here. I think the segment it got a little bit better when they went to the cooking
The
segment, where like
cooking
we're
was
just going to be
fun.
cooking or whatever.
And the
Um,
French chat, y'all are like y'all
yeah,
we were clearly already at a cooking show because I was like, I can invite you to the cookout, but we were at a cooking show. So French
right,
chat, French chat, like even though I can't like read French really like that, I can read Spanish, I French, the French chat just seemed like nice people because
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
French chat was clearly bilingual, multilingual, and you can say something in English and then they would literally respond to you in English, and then like, bitch, if you say something in French, they're like, "Whoa, you speak French?" Because I did that.
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
you speak French?" And I'm too embarrassed to actually answer and say that I don't. But there are, I mean, what do you want me to do? Say "Voilà, un
Just
chez ici." I can say that.
yeah, just like just a
Like,
little bit, you know.
but no, I don't speak French.
So the we was it we like
Oui,
a
un
little
peu,
bit,
like, and not
like just a little
even,
bit,
not even.
man. So you were saying that you're playing The Sims as of late,
Yes.
and it's been like a boon for you. Um, Tell me a little bit more about that, because I haven't played The Sims since I played The Sims 2, 1 and 2, and then
Uh-huh.
a little bit of 3, but not like seriously at all.
Yeah.
And then me and my wife just avoided The Sims 4 because it was too fragmented. Like they were selling you things that was already in Sims 3 and 2, and I was like,
Exactly.
nah, I'm good. But you are having a positive experience with The Sims. How's that
Yeah,
been?
and I think the reason I'm having a positive experience, A, besides the fact that I had nothing else to do, but is because I did not play the other games. I believe one,
Uh,
I looked at Sim 1 once at a friend's house, and that was it, just that one time. And I believe it was Sims 1 because, that was the age that we would have played it. And
right.
I remember being a kid and then always hearing that this game was for adults, like it was not for kids. And so we didn't play that. We played Civilization. So
Which is
so
hilarious. That is a hilarious. Yeah. Yep.
yeah, so yeah, Sims 1 wasn't a thing. Anyway, so anyway, I've decided to play Sims 4. My niece, like I said, she was playing hard, and I just used to laugh because I'm laughing because I'm like, Sims came out when I was a teenager or something like that, like, and I know that it has stuff in it that's not for kids, but whatever. So moving on. Anyway, like I said, I wanted to be like these other people telling stories. So, because I'm like, oh, I can tell stories. The way The Sims got me all kinds of messed up is so hilarious because I start playing the game. I'm in CAS. Okay. If anybody doesn't know what CAS is, it means create a sim. I'm in create a sim. I'm trying to make a sim that I think, that looks like I'm trying to make it my sim self. Okay. I
Right.
tried.
Right.
It didn't work. I don't know how to use CAS. I'm like, okay, this is terrible. I did find an outfit that reminded me of how I used to dress in like the year 2006, and I almost picked it, but I didn't because I also didn't know that you could pick more than one outfit. I
Oh
didn't know.
yes.
So, anyway, yeah, so I ended up making the sim, and then it gave you the questions to generate the sim's personality. And so I did the questionnaire. I think it does the questionnaire before you actually even make the sim. So I did the
Yeah.
questionnaire. I answered all the questions that I thought, kind of represented me. And I ended up with an evil sim. I did. She was evil, cheerful.
Cheerfully evil is is,
How
is
are you
wild.
evil and cheerful? She is
She's
cheer
Harley Quinn.
she's Harley Quinn.
Yep.
She's evil. She was cheerful, and her other trait was, is music lover a trait? Or is that just,
Uh,
I can't remember if music lover is the trait. I feel
I'm
like
not
it
sure.
was though. So yeah,
Hmm.
evil, cheerful, and music lover. Now the thing
Okay.
is, I have a plan to actually go back and replay the original sim because I have a plan because now that I actually know how to play, because now that I'm a guru.
Right.
I'm gonna play the hell out of her. Like she's gonna have the best time. So but the thing is, they create my sim or whatever, and I'm like, okay, and then I start playing, and you ain't got no money in the beginning, so I got moved into this little 1-bedroom house, and I'm like, okay, and then apparently they chose a job for her. So she's very smart. She apparently was brilliant. She wasn't genius. She was brilliant though. She had nerd brain, I guess, but she wasn't. She didn't
Okay.
have genius trait. She was just nerd brain, and she was an astronaut.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, I was like, okay, I'm okay. I was like, I'm okay with most of this stuff, but I'm not evil. And the funny thing is, the reason why I know they gave me the evil trait was because of the one question. They say, if there was a bank robbery being planned with you and your friends, would you A, be the narc, okay, B,
Right.
be the mastermind, or C, be the muscle? And inside of me, I was like, I'm the narc. Okay, I don't have this kind of energy. But the thing is, I was thinking of myself when I was like a happy before I was depressed, and I was like, well, before I was depressed, I was like, oh, I am the mastermind. Like that
Yeah.
actually is a personality trait of mine that I'm always like planning, and I do that kind of shit.
Right.
Um, so I was like, well, let me go on the personality that I know I used to have before life made me sad. And so instead of being a narc, I was mad. So that is the question. I 100% know that is what made me evil, because all of the other questions were just, normal. Do you like music? Yes. You love music? Yes. That kind of stuff.
Right.
Because
Right.
otherwise, I'm like, why would I be evil? I was like, yeah, it's because you're a fucking criminal mastermind. So
Yes.
it made me. It said that my things that I needed to complete was to like be a criminal. I was supposed to be a criminal, and
Ah.
I had the dastardly trait or something, and I was like, I was like, I don't like this. This isn't me. And I was very upset. Anyway, so I kind of just want to tell you like the crazy things that made me want to throw my computer.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I'm like, these are the things, again, I do wish, and my best friend says this all the time, I should have been recording from jump. That's what I should have been
Yes.
doing. I should have
Yes.
been recording from jump, because if I was, then everybody would know A, what I went through, and B, that it would have just been so comical. Because the
Yes.
way I had no control over what was happening, I'm talking about, so she starts her job. I send her jogging every morning because her job doesn't start until like 2 p.m. or something. She's meeting people in the neighborhood. I didn't even realize that Summer lives across the street, because I kept wondering why why's her name Summer Holiday, keeps coming to my house and taking my trash out for me. She was a great friend. Didn't know what the heck woohoo was. I didn't know. I just said it kept popping up in the pie chart. And
Right.
so Jay Huntington becomes like one of my buddies, and I click on, and I was like, woohoo partners. I literally thought that it was instant messenger because I saw the little man, and I'm like,
Right.
yay,
Right.
okay, cool. Me and Jay are and I was like, ask Jay to be woohoo partners. Sure, ask Jay to be woohoo partners. Cool. No big deal, right? He goes home. I'm minding my business. Another day, go run around the block, go to work. And she don't like her job. She keeps coming home and saying, my job's boring. And I'm like, I don't know what to do about this. Whatever. Next time Jay comes over another morning, and it was like woohoo. And I was like, because we're woohoo partners. With this, I thought we were going to
Ah.
text each other. Yeah, we were doing
No.
more than texting.
Facts.
Wasn't prepared. Wasn't prepared.
Mm.
At least I didn't have Wicked Whims downloaded at that time, because then I would have been like, computer screen getting shut and going, wait, like what? So anyway, um, Jay's my new woohoo partner. You know who's also my new woohoo partner? Nancy effing Landgrab. Okay? Nancy Landgrab. I'm at this point, I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, what's going on here? Because Nancy, I know you're married to Jeff. Why are you calling me on the phone? Why are you
Oh,
calling me
snap.
and saying, hey, I can't deny the attraction between us? I was like, didn't know you hated your husband. I didn't know. It's like, I'll play along. My sim's supposed to be evil. I'll break up a marriage, right? Like that she's supposed, I'm trying to play along, but I'm having a hard time, because also it told me that I needed to be mean to people, and I was like, I just couldn't do it. And especially like
Yeah.
Summer would come over, and then you know how the game, like what do you call it, like it it tells you to do, like, it says these things are going to
Right. Your
happen, and I would
checklist.
see,
Yeah.
yeah, I would see the mischievous things pop up, and I would clear them out because I'm like, I'm not going to be mean to my friends. This girl takes my trash out on a daily basis. Why would I be mean? So then Dawn Lotharaho starts coming around. This is where things start to turn because Dawn is pressed. Okay, Jay used to come over every day at 11 a.m. Like he was on time. Okay, but Dawn starts coming around. I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, they're passing each other. Jay, put your shirt on.
Right.
Like they're passing each other, and Dawn is like, so you want to go out on dates? Jay never asked me out on a date. Ever. Dawn wants to go on dates. Dawn is like really like, I'm like, wait, Dawn really likes us. She really likes him. What's happening here? I don't know. I didn't know he was a hoe. Like, and I didn't know he was also non-committal. So
Oh wow.
this becomes her romantic partner. They are literally in a solid relationship. She don't like her job, so she quits. So she go work as a nightclub person. Like, I don't know why she did that because Space Y, sorry, was paying her a lot of money. And then next thing you know, because she's an idiot, and she
Oh my
started getting, I
gosh.
was like, what's going on? She's an idiot. She done got pregnant with Don's baby. And this is the problem, okay? Because I noticed that she had been getting a little rotund too. And I was like, so
Right.
anyway, so she done had a whole baby. Now let me tell you what happened. She got pregnant, she had a baby, and she tries to introduce the baby to Dawn. Dawn goes crazy and runs out the house. I said, I'm never speaking to this man again. Mind you, prior to this, when she was in she was romantic partners with Dawn, right? But
Right.
but this girl didn't care. So she was still running around with Jay, and she was still running around Nancy Landgrab. Because Landgrabs own the power company. She had a plan here. She literally had a
Right.
plan.
I see.
Okay. And so the thing is, she would get these moodlets that was like cheating on a sim in a committed relationship and was making her happy. So when she would do these evil things, she would get happy. And I'm like,
Oh
this is
wow.
crazy. But the thing is, nobody suspected anything because she's cheerful, right? Anyway, like I said, she has this baby, and then Dawn wants nothing to do with this child. It's horrible. And I was like, get the hell out of my house. I never want to see this man again. But I didn't say that to him. I was just like, ew. So I didn't ask him to move in or anything. And then this is what happened. Taking care of a baby as a single mother is a very, very hard thing to do.
Right.
She didn't have enough money. I was paying the nanny because I didn't know daycare was free. And she works a night job. I had no idea daycare
Right.
was free. When you have the baby, they just send the baby home and then a bassinet shows up, right?
Right.
So she's
Right.
taking care of the baby, but then because I had auto aging on, the baby turns into an infant, and now the infant can't sleep in the bassinet anymore, and I don't know what to do. The baby, the entire time, the baby, her name is 1010. The entire time 1010 was a baby, she never slept in a crib. 1010
Mm.
slept on the bathroom floor.
Oh
1010
God.
slept in the kitchen. 1010 slept 1010 slept outside. Okay, she almost got taken away by Sims PS, from
Yes.
SPS. My best friend said, "Please let her get taken away. Like, just let her get." I was like, "No, I feel," and I named her. That's my child.
Right.
Then, okay, before we move on, I also noticed that when 1010 would cry because, she wasn't being taken care of properly,
Right.
and the nanny sucked. But my sim would get a happy moodlet because the baby was crying. It
That's
said being
terrible.
near someone who's in misery makes makes Tenchi happy.
Wow.
That right, I was like, this game is crazy.
Yes. You have a reality show that's like how to be the most evil or some junk. I don't
I didn't even know how to buy, I didn't know build buy mode. I didn't know how to get things. So I didn't know, I kept looking for a store. I knew that there was a library. I knew there was a gym. I knew there was a museum. And I was looking for a store so I could go and buy a crib because it said babies need to sleep in a crib. Well, she never had a crib. But then, when she became a toddler, it was like, I needed a toddler bed. When I finally found out how to build by Googling it, I get a bed, but I accidentally buy 2 because, like, if you go and build by, like, if you're buying a chair, it automatically spawns another chair. So,
right.
the first bed I bought spawned, like, outside, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I didn't move that bed inside because I didn't know how. So I bought another. I didn't think that that bed was still there. I bought another bed and it was in the house near the kitchen because it was a, one bedroom house. Um,
Right.
so when I clicked on the baby, the toddler to put to bed, she put the toddler outside and then collapsed herself as soon as she walked up the front stairs to the house because she was exhausted. She used to fall down in exhaustion because she never had energy. She was always hungry. Apparently she got fat because I kept ordering pizza because she didn't have time to cook. Like, it was just a horrible thing. And then I got so frustrated and Dawn came over one day. The baby is a toddler. Okay, your baby is 3 years old. And he
Right.
was like, "So, yeah, you want to get married or some bullshit?" Like, I don't know. And then it was like, "Okay, yeah, fine." And so I immediately like say, "Yeah, I can marry you." And then move him into as soon as I move him into the house, he starts taking care of the kid. Do you understand how many play hours I could have saved if he had just lived in the house the whole time? But no, he had run away like he didn't like children before. It was awful. Anyway, so he moves into the house and I stole all the money from the Calientes that they had because I needed it to buy a bigger house. The Calientes had 14,000 to their name, simoleons, and I just stole it from them and Dawn moved in, and that's probably why Nina hates him, not because the fact that he was sleeping with Nina, Dina, and Katrina all at the same time.
This is such a wild. I didn't even know this was all possible in The Sims. Like I
Just
didn't
I
like.
didn't either. So the shock on my face, again, which is why I wish I had recorded this, um, but the shock on my face as this is happening to me, it was crazy. But anyway, life kind of calms down. We move into a bigger house in Courtyard Lane, not very far, and it's just a struggle because she don't got, a good job and whatnot. And Ten almost got kicked out of school because she wasn't doing her homework because I didn't know where the homework book was. Allegedly, the homework book was on a desk that I put into storage because I needed a desk that could hold a computer because
Right.
it was really hard work. And yeah, and then finally as time goes by, again I have an evil sim, but she's not really hitting all her benchmarks. Then Dawn starts flirting with Dina and Nancy dies. And I was like, no, because again, I was trying so hard to like move into Nancy's house. I just wanted a bigger house.
Right.
And, I was really, really trying because I was trying to be a criminal. That was my aspiration, is to be a criminal. And like Nancy is the head of mob wives or some nonsense. And I was really trying and nothing worked because literally Jeffrey died. And then Jeffrey dying was actually working for me. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, great. Because this whole time, Tenchi's still a cheater. Okay. But she doesn't cheat out in the open. Dawn, on the other hand, cheats in front of her, and that's crazy because they have a very strong relationship. Like if you look on the mood, the sentiments, oh my goodness, these
Right.
two people love each other. But they decided to have Ten's birthday party at Nancy Landgrab's house. Dina comes. Next thing you know, this man is literally flirting with Dina Caliente in front of everyone. And it just goes downhill from there. And then Tenchi dies. The Grim Reaper comes, kills her, and it's really sad. So I keep her as a playable ghost, but Dawn's a cheater, so Dawn's a horrible person. It was just, there's a lot that
This is
happened.
what
And
are you? Wait. Okay. This feels messy because your character is evil. Like, is this? Because I swear I've seen people play The Sims and like not even a fifth of this happens. So I'm like, what? Why so much chaos? And the thing is, you're not even being evil. You're accidentally being evil. Like because you didn't put the
I
bed
know how to
in, she
play.
slept outside. Like,
I know how to play. The
like
baby
this
slept
is
outside. I grew a trash plant on accident because I didn't
see
know the trash can got kicked over and the trash grew into a trash plant. I didn't know.
see. You should definitely stream this. You should stream. This is great. This is hilarious. So, but you say you so even with all the craziness, you say you were enjoying this though. Like,
Yes. It was frustrating. Sorry, I was out of frame. It was frustrating me so hard. Like the amount of frustration that I was feeling to the point where I was like, I can't play this game because I don't know what I'm doing.
right.
But I didn't stop because, again, I have nothing else to do. But I was just it was I think one of the fulfilling things was me telling the stories to other people, like, calling my friends on the phone or like they'll be on the phone while I was playing and just they were dying, just cracking up. And then next thing I know, some of my friends are sharing the same story with other people. And then they're
Yeah.
like, wait, what is happening in this girl's game?
Yes.
So it was a lot of fun kind of like learning to play this new game. And so I didn't have these feelings where I see a lot of these people who are, they do their videos and they're like, oh my God, this game sucks. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on with you, but I am having, there's so much entertainment happening right here. But again,
Yes.
that's what happens, it's like I'm seeing a brand new world with my eyes. I don't know anything. So, it kind of started to calm down a little bit once I got the hang of things a little bit more. And
Right.
because like my original game, I felt was like really kind of crazy. And I also had to kind of replay part of it because when Don actually did die from the Grim Reaper, I didn't keep him as a playable ghost. And 1010 and him, his daughter, they were like best friends at this point, and she hated her mother. So
Well,
I
yeah.
right. I mean, yeah, because her mother's evil.
Right.
And so I actually didn't save. And I ended up having to play basically like years worth of play over again. And so
Ah.
when I did that again, I was like, "Oh my goodness," because it reset her. She at this point, she's graduated high school. Like she was a young adult. And so I set her back to being a child. And so I did a lot of things over again, which still kind of played out the same way. And just a couple things played out the same way. And then but when I went back and my sim dies again and everything, um, I was just like, I'm gonna play this differently because this sim didn't I'm not really connected here because, she's evil and annoying.
Right.
And and it's just kind of funny because in my kind of play over, her and her daughter actually became best friends. It's just so interesting how a couple of little things can play when you just don't save. And
Right. Right.
even like the person that I intended for the daughter to marry in the replay, one of his characteristics had changed.
Yeah.
And because he originally the this is one of the adoptees of the land grabs, ended up being retraded because he was like really good art lover, like focus, all these things. And then his new trait was lazy and he worked like at a restaurant. And I was like, what kind of nonsense? You used to work for Spacewatch. So I just said, you know what? Whatever. And I kept moving on. And then because my sim had died, I ended up finding ambrosia because I Googled it and found out that you can give them ambrosia and then come back to life. And then after doing that is when I actually found all of the cheats. So once I found out how to cheat, the game became even more interesting. And because it was like, oh, you can go into cast and you can change everything. I was like, wait, I can go back into cast?
Yeah.
Oh, I can get rid of the evil trait? Are you kidding
Yes.
me? So I don't have to be mean to my friends who are coming over and helping me take the trash out?
Yes.
Once that happened, the game actually became a lot more like controllable. and
Yeah.
and and then I started a new save with a brand new character, which I enjoyed that save so much I wasn't even worried about my original save. I made a brand new character whom I absolutely adored. She ended up with Gavin Richards, which is crazy. It just great. And I kept playing and I did something extremely hilarious. I'll save that for the next cast, with stealing a house. And
Wait, you stole a
it
whole
just stole a
house?
whole house. I did. I stole a whole house. We will have to talk. No, seriously, every week when we talk, we will talk about the things that I have done because that story is crazy. I also stole a whole child from a family.
That's
I literally
nuts.
kidnapped a kid. I've done a lot of things in this game, and I am proud of it.
You need to stream or at the very least record video so then you can upload to YouTube because good grief. Like that's entertaining. That is like even if it's accidentally
Yeah.
entertaining cuz then if you add any type of commentary on what's happening, the shock of seeing stuff fall out
Yes.
or whatever, yeah, I would subscribe. That would be a thing I would watch. That would
I
be hilarious. That would. That would be funny. So yeah, but I am happy that you're enjoying The Sims,
Yeah.
especially considering the state of it and the fact that it's a testament to how those type of games work,
Yeah.
and that you can find entertainment in just the smallest, even if you don't know all the stuff. Is like, oh, these are really cool things that just can happen because it's a simulation,
Yeah.
right? Um, which is also baffling at how The Sims 25th anniversary is so freaking boring. Um,
How, y'all?
movie. The next thing we wanted to talk about was briefly is the Fantastic Four trailer that dropped. Fantastic Four: The First Steps. I'm looking forward to this.
Mm.
Um, being a big fan of the Fantastic Four, but then also the fact that just looking at how it's shot, it reminds me of, I guess, earlier Marvel. Not too early,
Mhm.
not too early, not what like Daredevil and Elektra early, but like
Mm.
early like Iron Man 1 type stuff
Yeah.
where they're trying to be. I feel like they're distancing themselves a little bit from the MCU to their own thing, which actually has worked out for them. And then they'll probably tie it in towards the end, like after the credits or whatever, they'll tie it back into the MCU. But the fact that it's like we're being introduced to this family again in a interesting way, it being, I think, in the 60s or something like that.
Mm.
The fact that we got to see a bit of Galactus, he's not a shadow or a cloud like in the previous film.
Mm.
The fact that all the characters look decent. I was a little skeptical or a little hesitant with Ben Grimm because they have, so he's comic book accurate, but you know how like we were talking about how certain things that are a one-to-one doesn't really work in media. It's
Mhm.
kind of one of those things where like they do this thing with his brow where it's a little bit longer than like, I guess there's a point where he's drawn in a way that it almost looks like he has a little helmet on, and it looks great in the comics.
Mhm.
But seeing it on screen, I was like, I don't know. That
Yeah.
being said, for the most part, like when I saw him in this trench coat and stuff like that, he looked great. He sounds good. I want to hear him say it's clobbering time. That'll really
Yeah.
sell it for me. Reed, I mean, it's what's his name? Pascal. He's great, and I didn't see too much of Sue,
Mhm.
but for the most part, everything looks good, sounds good, and I'm looking forward to it. It seemed like a really good, like, it felt like which is interesting. Another trailer that dropped not too long ago felt like the Superman trailer in that it feels hopeful. Like
Yeah.
just in the trailer, it feels like what you expect Superman or these heroes to be. Very hopeful, very promising, and we're for the future and all this other stuff. Very
Yeah.
childlike imagination, but realized in a film, and that's very hard to do from a trailer.
Mhm.
Um, I think James Gunn has done pretty solid with that, and
Mm.
I think like maybe David F. Sandberg in the original Shazam when they were showing that off,
Mhm.
and a couple other where it's like this doesn't feel like, and I'm saying this as an MCU fan, this doesn't feel like another. This is just a superhero movie for the sake of having another superhero movie. This
Mhm.
doesn't feel um like how can we make this a good film? It just feels like, oh, this is a very earnest thing. This is a very um imaginative or creative take on the Fantastic Four, that it's less about selling you another branch to you and more about just celebrating these characters.
Mhm. Yeah.
Again, that's a lot from a trailer. However, that's how I feel at the moment. That's how I feel at the moment. It looks good. It looks good. It drops July, I believe, because they're only doing 3 films this year, MCU
Okay.
films. So we have the Captain America one that's dropping next week.
Right.
We have the Thunderbolts, which is March, I think, or April, and then we have Fantastic Four in the summer. What do you think of the trailer?
I like the trailer. I agree with you. It felt like hope, just like Superman. I was going to mention Superman too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's because I mean I watched it one time and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
oh, cool. And
has a nice vibe.
I'm not big on Fantastic Four. I didn't watch any of the movies, and so I mean I know Fantastic Four from playing any game in which they are in.
Right.
Okay. And of course the episodes of Arrested Development when they were parodying the Fantastic Four, like,
Yes.
why was that girl's name Debris? Anyway, but yeah, I thought that it was a nice trailer. I did. I thought it was nice. I thought
Word.
it was filmed well, and
Yeah.
it could be a good movie. So we'll just
I'm hopeful.
wait. Yeah, I'm
I'm
hopeful.
definitely hopeful.
Hopeful for
Um,
that. Hopeful for Superman to be good too. Like,
yes, because James is getting is yeah, he's taking a lot of
he
he's in an
is.
interesting he's in an interesting place to be the head of that division, but then also a director.
Yeah.
Like, because you're blamed for everything every other director does under the umbrella of DC,
Yeah.
but then you're also blamed for whatever happens in your particular movies. So
Exactly.
that's a tough, that's a tough role to be in. But he seems to be handling it well.
Yeah.
Um,
I think he's handling
I
it
hope
well.
to eventually interview him on this show
That'd be
because I have
nice.
a lot of questions
Yeah.
about what's happening because Twitter is crazy. Twitter is crazy.
It
Um,
is. That's why we're leaving.
right. Facts. Um, so our next topic we want to get into is Arcane. So we finally finished Arcane, and I say that well for me anyways is because just there was just too much.
Yeah.
Um, as much as which is this is an aside, but with how much stuff it hits Netflix, and we're just talking Netflix. We're not
Yeah.
talking about Apple, which Severance season 2 is up is up. Prime Invincible is back with season 3. Like there's so many things that just drop that it's hard to keep up with all of it all the
Yeah.
time. Like I knew it was coming. I had it set so it'll auto remind me and auto like add to my queue and all this other stuff. And there was so many things happening around that time that I was just like, oh wait, I'm supposed to watch this. Like my queue, the amount of stuff I have in it is bananas. Like it's
Yeah.
just so many things. Um, some of it my choice. Like I haven't finished was it Cobra Kai because they haven't released the final episodes. I hate this like releasing of stuff partly like half season type stuff. I
Yeah.
hate it. Which is another reason why I hadn't immediately finished Arcane because I was like, oh, it's not done. Um, but we did get to watch it, and for the most part, I enjoyed the show,
Mhm.
the second season. I think that it's difficult when it comes to time travel. Um, that's just a hard thing to do in any type of media
Mhm.
because rules are broken and new things are introduced, and there's this idea of a loop that shouldn't be a thing. Um, because how do you enter the loop and how do you exit the loop if you don't know if you're in a loop? There's just a lot of that type of stuff, and that gets into like the more nerdy aspects of it.
Mhm.
But that does affect the plot when certain things happen and you're like, oh, that shouldn't work that way, but I guess I'll go with it because
Mhm.
yay. You know what I mean? Like there's some things that don't work. Um, but for the most part, I think that I enjoyed the characters, their growth or lack thereof. Um, I enjoyed how they approach certain conflicts. There was some things that I thought was a little off. There's this thing where and it's not just Arcane, it's a lot of shows where we do this. It's a loop within a loop. So there's the time aspect of it, but then there's
Mhm.
this idea of like we are enemies, we're friends, we're enemies, we're friends, and it becomes it's hard to sit through. Like at one point, it's like what, just kill each other or be friends.
Yeah.
Stop it! Like
Stop.
we're not doing this. So like Jinx and her sister, and mind you, I was happy that they were able to reconcile. It was like okay, just be one or the other.
Yeah.
Like stop this. Or, I forget all the names just fell out of my head. The officer who was dating Jinx's
Caitlin?
sister, Caitlin. Like I get her disdain for Jinx,
Mhm.
and I understand that. So like their dynamic was cool, but it was
Yeah.
like going back and forth between who she wanted to work with, who she was cool with, who she wasn't cool with. And I get this is a disturbing period because they're basically at war with each other, blaming each other for what happened, Jinx killing her mother inadvertently because she didn't know her mother was in the building when she shot the huge rocket at it. Um, but then at the
Which
same
didn't
time, it's
wouldn't have
like,
mattered anyway. She was trying to kill people.
exactly, right? But then at the same time, it's like, well, Caitlin, you are literally gassing an entire environment just to catch this one person. Like it's the hypocrisy of people's actions made for a story in certain aspects, but in
Mhm.
others, it was like you're kind of it's real easy to not root for this character. You know how they do? So, like, let's say, oh, you know what? A good example. We look at Black Panther. We look at Killmonger's
Mm-hmm.
character. There's the people who are like, Killmonger was right. The problem was they made Killmonger so destructive that it was like, okay, he's not right because he's so destructive. And any type of nuance he might have had with what he was trying to say is thrown out the window the moment he shoots his girl in the face after getting off the plane. Spoilers if you haven't watched it. Sorry. It's been years. But you know what I mean? Like, there's things that he's doing to the point where, like, oh, you know what? You had an I see where you were going, and this might have made an interesting conflict just based on that. But because you took him far to the left or right or whatever, it's harder to root for him now,
Mm-hmm.
which is a good thing considering he's a villain.
Yeah.
But if you want to hold up the idea of what the morale aspects of the story,
Yeah.
I think it needs to be a little bit more nuanced. And I think that as Arcane went around, as Arcane went, it lost some of that nuance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part that I think bothers me the most about it. It lost a lot of the nuance that it was trying to hold up with these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because of it, it was very easy to root for one person after a certain point. Like, you know what, you suck and you suck, but now I have to root for them. Thank you for that because of
Thanks.
what you're doing. Like, I can't even, you know what I mean? Um, and so I think that's my major concern. But
Mm.
you were saying that you did not like this season. And so I'm eager to hear why you did not like this season, if it had anything to
Yeah.
do with what I was mentioning.
There's a lot, exactly what you said, but so much more. This is one of those things, and I'm so sorry. Fortiche, I'm sorry to say this. I'm sorry to everybody involved who made this show, because what I'm saying is mean right now. I wish you didn't make
Mm-mm.
season 2. I wish this never happened. I wish season 2 didn't exist. I wish that I was still on the high that season 1 left me on. I wish we were still wondering if everybody in that room was going to die. Like, I wish we were still off of the fact that Jinx literally shot Silco,
Right.
and somebody that she had such strong parental feelings for, and in season 1 was flawless. In fact,
Yeah.
and the only thing that I ever had to say about season 1, that I that well, I mean, well, we said a lot because
Right.
we've
Right.
talked about it
Right. Right.
before. But like, even going back and thinking about the show, rewatching the show several times that I did, like, in the last like 2 years, and feeling certain kinds of ways about things. Um, there were so many things that I just sat there and loved. I mean, there was the whole. I think the only thing was that, Silco being the cartoon villain, that there was a
Yeah.
possibility that there could have been places where he wasn't so much of a cartoon villain,
Yeah.
and then that would have made everything more realistic, especially with
Yeah.
like the underground drug lords, like the capos, the whole thing with the capos,
Yeah.
like that could have been. I almost feel like we could have gotten more story out of the capos, and it could have been a little bit different with that. But that's literally it. That's kind of the
Right.
only thing that I felt. Everything was just so perfect, was just so great, and it was just such. We knew how much hard work they put into that. We know how
Yeah.
much hard work they put into this show. This is one of the best video game adaptations we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then from jump with season 2, 5 minutes in, I already saw the problem. One of the
Mm.
major problems that I felt was how we went from such a big world. The world felt so big to me, even though it is Piltover and Zon. We are almost
Right.
always in Piltover and Zon. You knew that Noxus existed. You knew that
Yeah.
now I'm forgetting all the other places. That you knew that
Right.
freaking Solaris existed. You know that these other places exist. Um what a great way to know they exist is not just because Ambessa's visiting, but like the hex gates are a thing,
Right.
and they're sending
Right.
people there, and they're receiving goods and stuff.
Yeah.
As soon as episode 1 of season 2 starts, it's like that world, it disappeared. It felt like it disappeared. It felt like watching, I hate to say this, but in comparison, Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. Okay, not real Lord of the Rings, but the Rings of Power. Because again,
Right.
if anyone is familiar with Tolkien's world, you know how big the world is.
Mm,
And if you are familiar with Peter Jackson's work, then you know how well he made that world. Like, you know that world is
right.
big. Like, we
Right.
traveled through it. We followed these people, and we knew that it took them a month to go from here to there, and how big the world is. Versus Rings of Power, how did they get from the middle of the ocean? Okay, how did they get from Numenor all the way to the Southlands?
Yeah.
Like,
But
you guys, uh,
do you think like in this it was more centered on like Zorn and the other place because of the immediate conflict that they were getting ready to have?
but it didn't feel like it was just centered on Zon and Piltover. It made everything else that you know is happening in the world not a thing. It had
Mm,
nothing to do with the fact that Zon and Piltover are going to be at war. It was simply like, how did Ambessa get here so fast? Or something like, why is she in this scene? And
okay.
and 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 then
Oh, I see that. Okay, I can kind of see that with where Mbessa's daughter was taken by the was it the
the Black
basically the
Rose,
witches, the Black Rose,
which
to a
was
whole nother location, and then she's magically back to. Okay, I see what you're saying. I can see that.
it,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then and even in the beginning when they're supposed to, a bomb just went off, right? And I'm not
right.
even joking. So I know we talked about this multiple times about, because Mel is my favorite, and I don't want Mel to die. And we talked about there's different times where like everybody gonna die, and and then the internet would say things. The internet would be like everybody gonna die, and that's why Noxus will go to war with Piltover because they killed her daughter, type shit. And that would have been a better story, but but that literally I started researching because one
Hmm.
we never finished our conversation. One time we were talking on the show, we never actually finished the conversation, but I was doing research and I was like, I think that Mel on her father's side is related to that Sun Order or whatever because it makes more
Yeah.
sense. And I was like, I think that she has magic. I think she is a magic user. And then I watched this video from this guy. Oh my god, I love him. He's so good. Um, Shni. And because I was like, I think that her gold things, because I think that her gold things are a shield. And
Yeah.
in my head, again, I ended up being wrong, but in my head, I actually assumed that there's no way Ambessa would send her daughter to Piltover without some sort of protection. Even though
Yeah.
she was like kind of disowned, she wasn't. And
Yeah.
I felt like even if Mel I, I actually didn't think that Mel didn't know. There's a scene in the first show where Mel says maybe it's time for the use of magic because that's when, she has access to everything because she's
Right.
fucking awesome. And she is okay with them breaking into Heimerdinger's office. She's the whole reason why Jason Victor got what they wanted.
Right.
And when she says that word, like maybe it's okay, maybe we should introduce the, use of magic or whatever. And I had to rewatch and rethink. And I was like, I think she's a magic user and she's not telling
Yeah.
anybody because, using magic is illegal. And I'm like, no, she's a magic user. And I guarantee you, I remember because I had a dream about this and I told one of my friends, I was like, we were talking about who gonna die. It was me and my friend Carrie, and she's been on the show. And
Yes.
and then I was like, yeah, everybody gonna die. But then I was like, but also I just have this idea that she's going to protect everybody with like this golden shield.
Yeah.
That's really, really what I had believed was going to happen. Hermione wants to say hello to everybody. Hi. 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 She's in her white outfit, her Mel Medarda outfit, clearly. Okay. Say hi to everybody. We love you. Mwah. Hi. And she does that. She'll like yawn in my face. Okay, go potty. Go, because y'all know that my dog is litter box trained because she's the bomb. So anyway, so I assumed that she was an illegal magic user. And Mel's character to me is like, I love Mel because I'm like, first of all,
Yeah.
this is the strongest woman. She's the richest person in Piltover, but she's the most powerful person in Piltover because she's got everybody running at her beck and call. She has she literally nuts in a vice. Like this, she's running shit. She's running
Right.
shit underground. That's just what she's doing. And so one of the other reasons why I was irritated was because I felt like they did the Asuna treatment with her, where
Yeah.
she turns into freaking Asuna in a birdcage. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you had so much opportunity to take this political mastermind in the time of a horrible turmoil. You had the opportunity to use her actual power, which was her own voice. This is the same woman who had the head of the council doing things by giving him toys.
Right.
Like she is good. She convinced this whole man, Jace, to do all kinds of stuff. She's good. She's really, really good. And I don't want to discount the fact that was in love with Jace. I actually do think that they had a real relationship, except Jason Victor's love clearly trumped Jason and Mel's love. He don't love nobody the way he loves Victor. Like that right there, that is soulmatery. They are
Right.
the soulmates of the century. Mel can kick rocks. Okay, he's just not that into you. He's kind of into you, but him and Victor, like,
Yeah.
you can't break that. So again, fine, but you had this amazing character that you completely wasted for the sole purpose of making money off of another playable character. Hey, I love having a beautiful black woman as a playable character. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But you could have had both. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that she's going to do Taka no Jutsu in the middle of you know what I mean? Like, she's not going
Right.
to,
Right.
because she's a great politician, her power is like standing in front of the statue y'all are trying to take over in League of Legends, and she's going Taka no Jutsu it. No, that's not what I'm saying. She can still be a magic user, but you asana'd her, and that was so
Yeah.
unnecessary. You took us on the side quest of side quests and gave us so much content that needed to be spread out over 4 seasons. Not even 3. You needed 2 more seasons after this nonsense. There were too many stories cramped in to one story. The vectors were going all over the place. 2 episodes go by, you don't even know where Jason, Victor, and Heimerdinger and Echo are. You're like, where
Right.
are the characters? Where are the people to which the story is happening? Where's Heimerdinger? Legitimately, the story is over. It's ended. Where's Heimerdinger? And
Yeah.
Echo being like, no. Okay, so I'm going to go back in my mind and say, Echo saying no to Heimerdinger, using the power and doing whatever. Echo knows that he's never going to see Heimerdinger again. We don't know that.
Right.
We're sitting there like, oh, okay, well, Echo finally found Heimerdinger after jumping through parallel universes. They're finally back together. And Heimerdinger's like, wait, I know how to send you. He doesn't even say to him, I know how to send you back. He just says, let me work on this. And then he's like, oh, by the way. And Echo's like, no. You, as a
Yeah.
character, knew that you were never going to see Heimerdinger again. We didn't. And then we literally never saw Heimerdinger again. What is Heimerdinger? That
Well, that
needs to be a
also
meme.
that
It needs to be on a t-shirt.
well, that also brings up the point, and talking about this when I was saying that there's the issue of time,
Mm-hmm.
is that we are also doing they're doing it so the idea that there's different realities, they're doing this whole like there's different timelines, so we're on different timelines. They
Yeah.
potentially are adjacent, but they're different, which isn't a bad way of doing it.
Yeah.
As opposed to like because then you can explain loops in the essence of like you aren't going to your past, you're going to a past.
Mm-hmm.
Which creates a new future because you were never in this past in this capacity.
Yeah.
The problem though was that a couple of problems. One of them was that um Jace, no, Jason. What's his name?
Jace.
Jace. Jace went to the future for this particular timeline
Right.
and was able to go back into the past. And at the end they're like, in every single timeline, you're the person who helps me. Victor is saying like, you're the person who helps me. But it's like, how is it that he's able to go to? Because there's a point where Victor is like hooked up to machines and he's controlling all the people.
Mm-hmm.
And Jace goes and seemingly kills him.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, is this happening in the past or in the future? Like, where is this happening?
Where?
And the reason why I was so confused was
Where
because
are
they did
we?
a poor
When are
job
we?
of showcasing, when we are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get that he goes back in time or he goes into the
Westworld
future.
reference, by the way, y'all. Westworld
Yes.
reference.
I see like he goes into the future, and we see like the world is devastated, right? And
Mm.
so my thought was, oh, you're getting ready to create the future that you don't want by killing this person. Um, but I was wrong and right at the same time, because the way that it worked out, he was actually in our timeline again, and I was like, how did that happen? Whereas Echo went to a whole different timeline. Not like to say that he went back in the past, because one went to the future, one went in the past, but his past wasn't their past. It wasn't like he went back and all the events from the first whatever was there, because Jinx was her sister was dead. So it was like, how did you guys not only go through different points in time, but different complete timelines, and then get back to this timeline? Like
Yeah.
there's a lot to just kind of like skip over. Like if you don't think hard about it, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess this works.
Okay, it's colorful. I'm good. I'm entertained.
You
Like,
know what I mean? Like it's like, wait, but how did he get back? And then we can argue, okay, so Victor was there. Victor brought him back to this particular timeline, but it just so happens that he brought him back to where Jinx and company are trying to fight off, another group of people. They're like, the events are so like, it's such a coincidence. This all happens in this moment that it throws the
contrived.
story. Yeah, it just throws the story into so many different. I had questions. I had a ton of questions
I
when
had a
this
ton of
thing was
questions.
happening, and
I
maybe
didn't even have
people,
questions. There were no questions because I was like, no. I said, absolutely not.
I was like, this is not. I actually like rewind like the episode. Like I had to go
Hmm.
back, and I was like, did I miss a part where he like, when did he get here?
Yeah.
And not only did he come back, he came back in such a way that he was already near the camp.
Yeah.
How, Sway?
How?
Like, how did that happen?
How?
There's too many. The fact that the anomaly is so wild. Because another aspect is Humberdinger. He went to the past, but several years before Echo got there.
Exactly.
And it was only a few seconds. So not only, how did you guys even end up in the same timeline? Like, and mind you, like the way Humberdinger was talking, he was like, I've been here for thousands of years,
Yeah.
waiting for you to show up. Let's say that Echo would have even made that
Right.
timeline.
And he,
And granted,
remember,
it's
he said he didn't know he was coming, but it felt a little, it, this show, this season felt like they pulled things from other popular shows. This felt like El Hazard to me. It felt like they pulled in the whole 10,000 years from El Hazard. I've been waiting for you.
and it was such a pass away, like a throwaway comment, that it was like, wait. And like some people are like, you're looking too far into it, but you have to understand how, when you establish rules for your story, we kind of
Yes.
live on those rules until they're broken. If they're broken in a way that makes sense, then it's like, okay, I can vibe with this. But when you have in all these things that happen in such a way, it's like, did Victor order this to happen? Did he
Right.
know this was going to happen? Because he doesn't even know Echo is coming. His previous character doesn't know Echo is coming. And then if that's the case, how did Jace? And this is the problem with time. How did Jace stop him? All the other timelines, Jace is the catalyst to potentially stop him, but never actually stop him. And it's not even on Jace to stop him; it's on Echo. But Victor doesn't know Echo is there, so how is he able? Like, I feel like somebody can like, hand wave this away and just kind of explain it. But if you have to pull so many different things to kind of explain your story to people while they're actually viewing it,
Right. Then you're
then
not
that's
doing
kind
your
of a
job.
problem.
You're not
That's
doing your
kind of a
job as a
problem.
storyteller.
Do you think that this was supposed to be multiple, because it's mad
Yes.
expensive. It's mad expensive.
Hmm.
Do you think this was supposed to be multiple seasons
Yes.
where we had the initial the war, we had the issue with the Black Rose, and then we have this issue of time. Like, I feel like those are three separate seasons.
They are 3 separate seasons. 100%. I realized that we did not have enough seasons in episode number 1. Because I was like, is this
Mm,
going to be 9 episodes like last season? If this is going to be 9 episodes, I'm in episode number 1 and I already see problems. It did not take me to episode number 2 or 3 to figure this out. Episode number 1, I was like, we have problems. We have problems.
yeah.
I understand that following up to season 1 is a hard thing, and it, like, again, season 1 of Westworld is one of the best television I've ever seen in my entire life.
Mm,
Nothing tops it. It's amazing. It is fantastic. And then the rest of the seasons just go downhill.
yeah.
And it never got better. It just got worse, and it was like, the heck is going on? And the thing is, with a story like this, with the way that it took them to develop this show, and it took them 6 years and all that kind of stuff, I feel like this is not something where you don't have an idea of where your story is going. We know Rings of Power is written by ChatGPT, and not even real ChatGPT, a fake Timu version of ChatGPT, okay?
Oh my
They don't
gosh.
know where that story is going. They just know that it has to end with Sauron in a metal suit, okay? And and a whole bunch of elves being dead. That's what they know. That's it. So that it can start regular Lord of the Rings. That's what they know. They not doing no work. This one, I'm sorry, you guys, what is the name? Alex Lee and the other, y'all sat in a room together multiple times. You sat on each other's couches. You have literally probably been on the toilet on the phone with each other when you're coming up with your best ideas. Like, you I don't for a second feel like you just wrote season 1 and just said, "Well, we'll figure out the rest later." You have an outline of where you know your story is supposed to go. I feel like this is a studio thing where
Yeah,
somebody's
mainly
like,
Netflix.
"It, yes, we don't have enough. We're not going to put enough money into this." It's like, yes, you did get a huge following. Yes, the show did make more money, and yes, the show did win an award we didn't think it was going to win. But
Right.
like, we're not going to give you money because we don't invest into our shows. We just
Well,
don't.
not even that, it's like the return, because so, like, if we have a show,
Mhm.
I'll just throw out, like, I don't know the budgets, but,
Right.
like, if we throw out, like, Castlevania just got its 3rd, 4th season,
Mhm.
because it's a whole new it's Castlevania, and then the next 2 seasons are another, like,
Yeah.
years later
Mhm.
Castlevania, but it still counts as, like,
Yeah.
4 seasons or whatever, right? However, the animation cost for that isn't all on Netflix, because it's produced. The person I follow, the person who actually goes about producing this, he's doing the Devil May Cry
Mhm.
anime, and so there's that. But then also the amount of money that goes into it isn't the same. And so even though that has 4 seasons, the same amount of eyes might be on both shows, and you can say like, oh, we got this many subscribers based on this. One of them costs significantly more and takes a lot longer to develop. We had
Mhm.
4 seasons of one show. We only have 2 of the other
Mhm.
because of how long it takes to animate and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And so I can see Netflix being like, I know you have a plan. I know you had a plan for 6 seasons. I know you had a plan for all this big grandiose thing. We didn't know it was going to cost this much,
Yeah.
and we know you want quality, so we'll let you finish. Because usually Netflix is like, we're just going to cancel stuff.
Yeah.
We'll let you finish, potentially getting another award. It'll be great. And, maybe something down the line, maybe an Echo Show spinoff or whatever the case may be. But for the right now, we're just going to stop here. And
Yeah.
I think what they did, instead of altering this, I mean, they did alter the story, but instead of being like, we're just going to have it here and have it be a cliffhanger, they're like, we're going to jam everything we can into it. So at the very least, when you see the end credit, it is the absolute end of their saga.
Mhm.
And I think if they were gonna do that, I think Netflix should have allowed them to have more episodes then. Like, if you're not
Right.
gonna do a full 3 more seasons, at least more than 8 episodes or 9 or however
Seriously.
much it was.
I couldn't
Yeah.
honestly, I literally couldn't tell. I was at this point, I mean, I was packing at that time, and I was kind of just
Right.
like, is this going to be over? Because I'm exhausted. I'm tired because I'm not interested. I'm like, season 1 I was sat. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, "Oh, I need more now. This is amazing." This again, I literally just watched it. It's very fresh in my mind. I didn't immediately go, and I should have been super excited to watch it because this is one of my favorite shows, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like there was good reason for that, because when it dropped, I didn't hear, like, I didn't hear the, "Oh my god, everybody, yeah, 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 tune in." Didn't happen. And so
Yeah.
and mind you, I wasn't really thinking of it anyway. I had other things going on. But the fact that I didn't hear so much clatter and clacker by, like, if you're not watching this, something's wrong with you. So anyway, just I literally watched it on Sunday. Not Sunday. I watched it on Saturday, so a week ago.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is still fresh in my mind. And also it's like there was so much nonsense like so much was happening at the same time that was not being fleshed out, and it was just
Yeah.
being thrown in there. I'm sorry, Mbessa is one of my favorite characters because that woman is the bomb.
Yeah.
I know that she is a warlord. That is awesome. I love her being
Yeah.
a warlord. I like her little hairstyles. And I love this character is so effing awesome.
Yeah.
She was so one note. Like I was so
Yeah.
mad that they did her like this because season 1 Mbessa had so much mystery to her. It was just like, damn, she is a warmonger. But there's reason for this, and this is how she was raised and XYZ blah blah blah. It just made a lot of sense. It didn't make sense for her to be the new Silco. It it
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
it was bad writing to me because I'm like, you used her to complete an agenda that seemed completely out of character. I have
Yeah.
no idea
Yeah.
why Ambessa wants to destroy Zon. Legit. Why does Ambessa want to destroy Zon?
Right, because it's not like the Black Roses in Zon. They're not
Hello?
there. It's they've infiltrated where you are, but they're not necessarily located there. You're based on what they're saying, you're hundreds and hundreds of miles away from that place. You actually took your daughter from near there all the way over to the city because it's so freaking far away and the gates are closed. Like what is going yeah, that also bothered me because and this could be because they're cramming so much story in, but like her turn, we knew that she was going to be a problem, right?
Yeah.
But her motivations for being a problem seemed odd. And
Yeah.
then we need a big bad, and since
Yeah.
we don't want Zahn necessarily to be the big bad, we have to have it be her. So have it so that her, I guess her lieutenant gets killed, and then she's like, okay, I gotta take over the city. And it's like, if anything, it would have made more sense as soon as the bomb hit, been like, we're taking over. My daughter's here. We're just taking over from the rip. And then everybody trying to stop her from doing that. But that wasn't the case.
Right.
She kind of took over, kinda, but it was more so like, I just want access or leeway to do the stuff that I want to do in Zon. But the why?
Why?
And then it's like she's searching for like the best soldier. I'm like, you have the best
You
soldiers.
literally have the Noxian army. Like you have
You could take over the city right now.
right now.
Like, and mind you, she didn't even get those soldiers. She didn't get like when the whole thing blew up in her face
Mhm.
and she went back to the city. She almost took over the city and didn't have the soldiers yet. So why are we? It was just a means to an end.
Because it was not for her. This
Yeah.
thing was written for a different character that they
Yeah.
clearly weren't able to use. They clearly had to get rid of. People like Jinx so effing much that they didn't let Jinx run with her wildly bipolar self. Like they fixed her. How you just bombed a city. Again, when I talk about the world being small, and Jinx's bombs are quite destructive. We've seen what Jinx's bombs can do. And then this
Right.
bomb was huge. We watched that bomb be launched from a rocket launcher over her shoulder, and we watched it fly through the sky. It should have been more devastation than the council. I really feel like it should have been more than the council. And again, people living through it makes sense, especially if Mel used her power. And it would
Right.
have been so much cooler if Mel had been hiding a magical power instead of it being like, I didn't know I had it, and Jace being mad at her for only protecting her and not protecting Victor and not protecting other people, and her being like, I didn't know I had that power. Like, honestly,
Jace
that
pissed me off. Not
Jace
gonna
pissed
hold
me
you.
off. But that was in character for Jace because
Right.
Jace
Right.
is pissing people off from season 1. He's an idiot.
Exactly.
He
Yeah.
always
Yep.
needs somebody to lift him up. He always needs somebody to fix his messes. Jace is honestly, I felt like he was true to the character that they introduced us to last season.
True.
He
That's
is
true.
his own worst enemy,
Yeah.
and I think that they really should have carried that through, even with him like shooting Victor when we're all like, yo, Victor was actually doing something pretty decent and you are the catalyst now for the story going left.
Right.
I mean, I've again no problem with Jace being that person because Jace is a menace. He is. He,
That was also weird. Now that I'm thinking about it, because Victor was the one that sent him back through time, and Victor made it so that he would kill him to
killed him.
create the loop in the first place. Why would you
Why?
like? Unless, and at one point I was like, maybe Jess got it wrong. Like Jace got it wrong. Like Jace was like, "This is how I'm gonna fix it," and Victor's like, "That's not how I want it." But seemingly, that's what Victor wanted. Like he wanted them to get to the point where they have this conversation in this weird void that they're in, and I'm like, how about you just tell him not to kill me? Like, hey,
Right.
go back in time and let's see how this works without you killing me. Or at the very least, explain that. Like, hey, you got to do what you got to do. Like, when they get into the void, he's like, in all the different timelines this happens. Jason's like, well, what if I didn't shoot you? And he's like, well, it's still, we would eventually would have gotten here anyways.
Right.
Then I would have been cool. But
Yeah.
it seems it's writing, and I can't, again, I don't know the circumstance that led
Yeah.
to it. But just watching it, I can say that it appears to be circular writing in the sense of like, we need to get to this point. How do we get to this
How do we
point?
get there?
And forget logic. Just how do we get there? Because this is the scene that we really want to shoot.
Yeah.
How do we get there? Well, let's have Jace go through this whole time thing and have Victor be the one, because that would be great aha moment. But then we look at it on paper, or you see it, it's like that doesn't work though. Like,
It
because
doesn't.
if Victor just says no, it doesn't happen. If Echo doesn't show up, it doesn't happen. If there's too many factors for Victor not to know, for it to happen the way that he thinks is going to happen. And then
Right.
once we get there, if he's already had this conversation or he had this whatever, it's like he's stuck in the loop as well. So what is the catalyst? The catalyst is Echo, but why is Echo the catalyst? And this turns into the whole issue of time, because you can't, if you're looping for a reason, the reason is still there. You can't get yourself out of the loop. This is one of the reasons why I didn't like Looper. Looper's a great film, but it's just
we
dumb.
love Looper.
It's just a dumb thing, because it's like, it's not how that works.
It's not how it works,
And
but it was
so
a great movie.
it was a great movie. So
Second great
like
movie.
and granted, I still, and even though I'm saying this, and maybe a little bit more on your side now, but I still think I enjoyed, because even with that, I think like the acting, the art, the music, there's a lot of things that just they do really, really well.
Yes.
I think that was enough for me to be satisfied, and the fact that it wasn't canceled, and that might be a little bit critic brain, in the sense of
Yeah.
like, we actually got a complete story, even if it's rough around the edges,
Yeah.
versus so many Netflix shows that just don't get that opportunity. They just stop at a cliffhanger and you never see what happens next.
Yeah. Like chaos.
Exactly. Like, we just don't know what's going to happen. And so I think in that, it's like, okay, I am satisfied. At least we got this. But yeah, I totally think it could have been better. I think it should have been more seasons. I think that certain things just don't add up when you really look at it, and it comes down to how much you care, I guess. Like, how much
Yeah.
does this bother you when watching?
Right.
Um,
Some people who
yeah,
maybe are league players who don't care, like I think there's a huge part of the league crew that does care because they're like, oh my
right,
goodness,
right.
they wanted this, they wanted to see this show, and they were like, oh my god, this is whatever. But the league community is toxic, so who knows? But like, but then there are other people who are just like, oh, it's just another show, don't really care. And then there are people like, I think, well, us, we talk about these things, but I personally, I was very invested because, like I loved Arcane. It was just so, 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 so well done. See,
Right.
and they, again, they decided to make a story. They were able to use a known world with so much lore, so much, so much, so much lore, and they were able to pull the necessary parts to make a very good show. That
Yes.
season 1 was so good. And this is like one of those things where you're like, okay, is your library not organized so that you can't finish the stories you started? Um, or are you being influenced by outer stuff? Because I felt when I was watching, I'm like, yeah, that happened in Avengers. Because I felt like I was watching Age of Ultron and I was irritated. 'Cause I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, so he's Ultron now. Okay, Victor, because I love you, Victor, you might." I don't care if it's Harry Lloyd, if Harry Lloyd is in it, I love it. If Har so
Yeah.
I'm like, um, I'm irritated because I already watched Age of Ultron, and I watched What If, and I wasn't expecting this, and I'm not pleasantly surprised, I'm disappointed. And if I go back to the world feel what I was saying before about world feeling small, was that I really, really, really thought that we are having a major problem in scaling because many people were affected by the bomb.
Right.
Yet, it's like you can't figure out how many days have passed since the actual attack because it's going too fast. And then we get
Yeah.
one funeral. We have 3 dead people, which honestly I thought there were more people in the room, but we got 3 dead people and 1 funeral. And I understand that Caitlyn's mom is important because Caitlyn is a character,
Right.
and the other people, we don't have access to their families, but it doesn't mean that they didn't have any, especially because in scenes later, you see people who look just like those dead council members.
Right.
So you know that they had people in the city.
Yeah.
So why were we only taken to what's her face Kierman's funeral as if she's the only person who died?
And it wouldn't be such a stark contrast. This first season didn't do that because the first season did, like, maybe it was because it was establishing the world,
Mhm.
but it did show these people, the people on the side or
Yeah.
whatever, auxiliary people, um, and to a good degree. Like there was one in the second season, I believe it's just a black woman. I don't know if she's like what race she was within the world, but they kept showing her in Zon, like she would pop up here and there. I think she was a bartender that one of the guys wanted to date at one point,
Oh, yeah,
and
her.
then her future self, she leaves and then comes back, and then she enlists in the army, and then she dies. And it was like it's like I feel like there was so supposed to be more there because on one end it's like it's interesting to see her in these different moments, but then she's not treated like as in she's not impactful enough for me to care as much as I'd like to.
Like Sky?
Um, yeah, like it's just not enough to really. So then I'm like, what's the purpose? And maybe there's a through line. Like this person is like, oh, you see them here, and this is supposed to center you. Like maybe you're supposed to see it through their point of view, or whatever the case may be. But it's not enough. It's just for me, anyways. It just
Yeah.
wasn't to make any type of point,
No, it
like
wasn't. It was
resonate.
more confusing than anything. It's just like, am I
Yeah, it's
supposed to
like,
be feeling a way?
is this person important for some reason? Like, why are they keep showing up to the degree that they are,
Yeah.
but then aren't given enough? Because even when she dies, it's very much a okay, we got to move her body. We got to go. Like it's more, and that could have been something if we were seeing maybe a background of her, like how she struggled and then got to this point. It's like, oh, like what you're doing is affecting people you don't even know.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
we kind of see that in that sense, but it wasn't treated that way. It was more so like this is just a, a person that's continually here, not doing anything,
Mhm.
not having any type of backstory, not having any type of even familiarity with the people that she's around for the most
Mhm.
part, outside of being, I don't know, maybe she's one of the main people who turned and then everybody followed. But for the most part, it was like you're just kind of here, um, and it didn't do anything. Versus where like the little girl who's following Jinx around, because you see her, you don't see
Mhm.
all of her backstory, but you see her running from people. Maybe she owed money. She's a or like a street urchin or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be. It's like okay, when she dies, it's more impactful. One because she's a mirror of Jinx
Mhm.
at a certain point. Also because of we understand that the things that are happening topside are also affecting her negatively, and that's why
Mhm.
Jinx comes around. So like when she dies, it's actually impactful, but only because she's given more than a few scenes.
Yeah.
For the most part, right?
Yeah.
So we're not asking for a lot, but if you're gonna include this character over and over and over, give me something to work with. Other than the fact that,
Something.
oh, they're there and then they die. Like that it's
It it
just
it feels very Rebel
yeah.
Moon, Child of Fire, which is
Oh my god.
yeah,
You
that's
know, there's been times where that director And I'm not saying his name because there's a lot of hate comes when you mention his films, but it's like he always films something, or at least the record has been him filming something and then being like, it came out poorly, the wait till the director's cut, and then the director's gonna come out and the verse, like, it's just longer. It's longer and worse. Like, okay, cool. This scene makes a little bit more sense now because you fleshed it out. Cool. This movie is still whack though. Like,
Still whack.
thanks for making me sit through this twice. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I refused. I said, "I'm not doing this." That's why I just watched what's his face's video when he clowns the vid I was like, I started watching it, I got through it doesn't matter, different story. I think I got through 20 minutes of that, and I said, "Absolutely not," and then I went and watched the takedown video. It was so
yes,
damn good.
it worked for Justice League. I'm not gonna hold you. His version was better than
Mm,
what's his name's version, mainly because, well, there's so many reasons, but no, I need you
no,
to get it right the first time.
yeah,
Or for someone just to let him go. Let him go and shoot whatever he wants. I feel like he either needs an editor to be like, "No, take this out. No." Um and fit your story around what you have,
he shouldn't be
or
allowed to write.
he should be given free reign to do whatever the heck he wants, because at the very least it's his full vision and he can't complain about it being the wrong cut or whatever the case may be. But then we'll have 8-hour films. So what are you
8.
going to do?
And then be like, "Sir, that's a season. That's not a
Right.
film, it's a season. Get it together."
Yes. Um But yes, that is our show
That
for the
is
week.
our
Thanks you for
show.
hanging out with us. We had a great time talking
Mhm.
about all things Sims and Arcane and whatnot. Feel free to subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe and that notification bell so you're up on all the new episodes that are going to be coming out. We're going to be
Yes.
recording this year. We have some plans for some special guests. Hopefully that pans out. I will
Mhm.
not make any announcements now because I will feel away if it didn't work. So we will we will be making those announcements when they actually happen, or
Yeah.
after we record, because then nothing can happen, right? After we record with them, then nothing can happen. But we do have some ideas and some things that are coming, so definitely follow. If you're on Spotify, iTunes, or any of those places, feel free to add us to your RSS feed, subscribe there, so you can hear us talk about things that you want us to talk about. Also, shout out to Froggy Thief. He's the homie. He's been commenting on some of our videos. He actually watched some of my streams. He's played fighting games with us,
Mhm.
and he actually went with some of my friends to Evo. Shout out to him. Thanks for this, subscribing and talking about stuff and giving you props on your breakdowns on different things. So shout out to Froggy. Um,
Alright, Froggy.
but yeah, follow us. And also, we are on Blue Sky now. So
We
definitely
are.
follow us over there at the Gamecast. There's no one from Sky, it's just at the Gamecast, or Blue Sky. I don't know how I forgot how that works. The blue dot,
BSKY?
whatever. BSKY, I think. Um, but we're there. If you
We're
type in
there.
the Gamecast, we should pop up. And obviously, we're on Twitter. So definitely follow us. We have all that stuff in the description below. And yeah, great times. Great
Great
times.
times. That's it, y'all. Deuces. I really don't have a closing today. Just be kind, wipe your butts, wash your butts. And that's it. Bye-bye.